All right, hello everyone. We're live with the Welcome to Esports seminar here. I'm the Esports coordinator post, Jonathan Martin, and with me is Roger Caramanica, the program chair of the Gaming and Esports Management degree program. And so we're just going to go through the two aspects of esports, really, the varsity play for myself, and Roger's going to talk about the degree program. So we'll start it off with Roger. Welcome to Gaming and Esports. Take it away, Roger.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate you making the time to come talk to us. So, gaming and esports, we're going to talk a little bit about the industry and where esports falls into the industry. When we talk about this, we're hitting it from two angles. So, John mentioned he's the esports coordinator, and I'm the program chair for the gaming and esports degree program. So, when we talk about this topic, we want to start off with talking about gaming. So gaming, video games in general, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. Like 60% of Americans identify as gamers across the U.S. And when you look globally, that number is the same or higher. If you go into like Asia Pac markets, things of that nature, tremendous amount of people that play video games. So it's a very large industry. But when we think about gaming versus esports, it's important to understand that gaming is just the act of playing video games, and there's its own market, and it's a $200 billion market. And then there's a vertical market that's a lot of people just use the terminology hand in hand, but they are different, and that's esports. So when we talk about esports, at its core, esports is competitive play of a video game. Right. So if you think of traditional sports of baseball and basketball and football, think of the titles that you may play in a video game like Valorant or Overwatch or League of Legends as the actual game itself being played. And there's competitive landscapes that are built for each one of these games. And they can vary depending on the ecosystem, the publisher, the different stakeholders and things of this nature. But esports are the competitive play of video games. And what happens a lot is people they confuse these terminology, or they use the terminology loosely, and then things get muddled. But when we think about gaming, that is just the act of playing video games, and then esports is the competitive play of video games. So the ecosystem, we talk about the ecosystem of competitive gaming. We want to just kind of touch upon the fact that there's a lot of stakeholders in the industry. There are the publishers that actually make the games, like a Valve or Blizzard or Psyonix or Riot. There are the events that occur based on competitive play. So you can have, these very large 100,000 people sitting in a space or online watching an event unfold. There are the teams that are created. There are franchise teams that are geospatially located, like the Knights, or for example, that they have a geolocated team and they are in a league. You can also have a little less rigorous teams that are teams slash brands, or consumer lifestyle brands like 100 Thieves and FaZe Clan, these types of folks that do field competitive play, but they also make their money in other places like streaming and merchandise and YouTube videos, etc. And so that leads into the idea of channels and streaming. So you have Twitch and YouTube and Facebook, and all of this is for the last 5-7 years really has been, when we talk about online streaming, it's gone on their own platforms. Now, the traditional media markets like ESPN and things of this nature are getting more interested in streaming and broadcasting competitive play, but there's still new entrants into the market. So the overall ecosystem, there's dozens of stakeholders in the ecosystem that are in it for different reasons. So let's talk about the current state of the esports industry. It's one of the fastest growing markets in the world. It's a $25 billion in revenue. Matter of fact, this slide just got updated. Chris, the last time you saw this, I was talking 1 to 2 billion, right? A new research article just came out this past week that took all the data and turned it on its head and said, no, you guys have it wrong. It's actually 25 billion. So this is a very large chunk of the overall gaming ecosystem. And this is just growing. The revenue comes from sponsorship deals. It comes from, things that happen in the streaming world. The revenue comes from, ticket sales, things of this nature. So it's a robust market, and it's on an upward trajectory, and it's not slated to stop anytime soon. And now we're in this world of media rights, and everybody wants to get media rights to whatever the aspect of the ecosystem is. So there's marketing and media deals and brand deals and all these different things that are occurring right now that it's really fast paced and really exciting for the industry. So it's a fast paced industry. So again, gaming, the overall industry, and then esports as a vertical market of it, growing like gangbusters. So when you look at viewership numbers, so who's driving this growth? Well, it's the viewers, right? So there's people that play, and there's people that want to watch people play. It sounds alien to some folks, but it's no different than sitting and watching a football game or a basketball game. Yearly viewership numbers grown from 281 million in 2016 up to 454 million in 2019. This is growing. We'll talk about the impact of COVID, but this has exponentially grown. It's the one silver lining in this whole debacle of a pandemic. 6.6 billion hours of esports content watched in 2018. And then 2018, and this is a good, gives good context for folks, is the 2018 Super Bowl had a viewership number of 98 million. In comparison, the 2018 League of Legends, which is a competitive esport, the World Championship for that game had over 100 million unique viewers. So League of Legends actually beat the Super Bowl in terms of unique viewers. So think about all the ad revenue. Think about what people pay for a 15, 30-second, 60-second ad slot during the Super Bowl. That's the same kind of revenue that people are going to start, are now and will continue to start demanding for, 50-second ad rolls on Twitch, 30-second ad rolls on Twitch. Having a player wear a, Arby's patch on their jersey. The market's wide open for this because there are so many viewers, and this is, again, on an upward trajectory and slated to continue to grow. So with this, of course, the money comes in. So, in 2018, 2019, we saw billions of dollars being invested in the market. It went from actually 4.5 there was a 4.5 billion investment in 2018. So you had a year-on-year growth of like 837%. And if you look at 2019, you look at 2020, that growth is just continued to, it's on that curve where it's just continuing to grow. The money's pouring in. Now, this is a good thing, and it's also a bad thing. It's great because as the money comes in and interest comes in, we're getting infusions of cash in the market. You're seeing entrepreneurs be able to live their dreams and build their business plans. Inversely, there's not a ton of people that know the market forwards and backwards. And so there's bad business investments. There's money being tossed into the industry that, may end up failing. A good example of this is Blizzard requires a $25 million buy-in to franchise a team for a couple of their different games. So the Overwatch League is one of these where it's a $25 million buy-in to be able to create a geolocated franchise team. They didn't really do a fantastic job of explaining how, the return on the investment for somebody buying into this. So you saw, individuals that had teams in these spaces in the last 5-7 years, they backed out of this. They opted not to go into that model because they couldn't understand where they'd get their money back. So we're seeing some investments that are a little suspect. But overall, in aggregate, it's great. It's great that private equity is into the market. It's great there's interest. It's just up to leaders within the industry to make sure that money gets funneled in a way that makes the industry sustainable over the long run. Otherwise, we've seen it in this industry in the past where lots of money got poured into like traditional television markets and it didn't succeed. They couldn't get the revenue back and it floundered. We don't want to see that again. I don't think it will happen again, but it's one word of caution with esports investment. Again, interest levels, I've touched upon this before, but the gaming industry hasn't seen a negative period of growth since its inception, right? So that's the gaming industry. So go back to just generalized gaming. Gaming has grown. So I remember getting my first NES when I was a child, right? I've been playing video games for my, entire life, basically. As the younger generations get in, they're born with a controller in their hands. I have a 12-year-old and a 9-year-old. They both have iPads. They've been playing games on their iPad since they could manipulate the iPad. So this industry is continuing to grow, and I think it will continue to grow. Again, Asia Pacific, North America, and Europe are the top 3 esports markets. So in Asia Pacific specifically is really exciting. There are a tremendous amount of opportunities in the Asia Pacific market. Streaming. So I touched upon this a little bit when I talked about stakeholders, but this is a giant market. It's extremely exciting. This market, this is when you start talking about Twitch and YouTube and Facebook gaming. There was another entrant to this market, Mixer, that kind of died on the vine. And it's really an interesting market because you would think that Mixer, backed by Microsoft, would have had a natural leg in for success, and they didn't, because this is truly an industry driven by the consumer. Now we can say that about most industries, but this one, you see the consumer voting with their wallet, really, real time, and so you see consumers not wanting to move off of the leader, which is Twitch. And there's tremendous amount of viewers in these markets. Now again, this is a web application or mobile application. You log into it, you can watch somebody streaming either a competitive level play or just a video game. There's it varies from somebody that's playing competitive League of Legends to somebody who's speedrunning Minecraft to somebody that's just playing the guitar, right? On any one of these channels. So it's really its own unique market. And, when I give perspective, I like to just use this idea of Madison Square Garden, right? So a lot of people know Madison Square Garden. It was kind of the gold standard of a facility to fill if you pack the house, right? It's got 20,000, 21,000 seats. On any given day, if you were to go into Twitch or YouTube or Facebook and you look at the top streamers, they're holding 30, 40, 50, 60, 70,000 people all day long. So if you think about the potential for revenue for just a 4-hour or 3-hour game, basketball game, football game, whatever the case in one of these stadiums, think about the potential for an all-day situation where you have eyes on you for the entirety of the day. It's amazing, and it's great for the industry. So when we talk about mobile gaming, so you move into mobile gaming, so everything we've talked about so far is something that would potentially be paid on a PC or console. Well, then there's this other market of mobile gaming, right? This day and age, everybody's got a cell phone in their hand, right? And it's very easy to download a game and just play while you're standing in line or you're, waiting, at the doctor's office, whatever the case may be. So this market is tremendously large. Now, it's a really interesting market for the overall gaming industry because, you have games like Candy Crush and Angry Birds and things of this nature that have been historically kind of well known. But now it's also being interesting for the competitive level play because games that traditionally were not played on mobile, the developers are looking to bring them over to mobile to try to capture a bit of that revenue. So it's a really interesting aspect of the overall gaming industry. I don't know that we'll ever see competitive play on mobile. I just don't think that's something that makes any kind of sense based on the ability to play. But it is a really large, very interesting market that's got a lot of upside potential. We talked about spectator events a bit, but I talked from the streaming standpoint, but we can see packed houses, right? You can see arenas packed with people that want to come to watch somebody play live. They put the game up on the Jumbotron. They have the announcer just like they would in any kind of event. And they show up to sporting their jerseys of their favorite team or their favorite player, and they paid for a ticket to go there. They visit all the booths. They do all the things that you would traditionally do in a live event. And these events can be game or championship specific, or they could be events that are just tagged on to like a Comic-Con or something of this nature, right? So it's not just a situation where you have to have a secular event for the competitive play, but you can host competitive play at other events. So you're seeing Comic-Cons and all these different conventions and meeting events that are happening pre-COVID with some kind of competitive play tacked onto it, right? So we're going to host we'll host a tournament, right? And that drives interest, and maybe they'll offer a cash prize, things of this nature. So spectator events, very large aspect. There's tons of organizations that have created grassroots organizations that have started from scratch to be able to handle the project management of these events and things of this nature. All of this aspect of the industry taking a dive a bit in COVID with most live events. But I suspect as we get this pandemic figured out, we will kind of turn the tide and we'll get back to that. Moving on, I talked a bit about media rights and then it's growing. It's growing so much that ESPN and large, big brand names have kind of taken interest, right? If you go to ESPN, you can see that they have an esports tab. They didn't have that 5 years ago, right? They didn't have, you could go to ESPN, you can look at NFL, MLB, NHL, and now you have esports, right? So it's kind of hitting, the big time, if you want to call that aspect big time. But you're starting to see media rights, and just like you saw, the various alphabet television channels going after the rights to football, you're starting to see these same folks going after the rights to esports. It's a little more challenging because with esports, again, each game is its own sport, if you want to use that analogy. And it's very complicated to get rights. So you're not seeing it move as fast, because where you could see ESPN or Fox negotiate with the National Football League, now ESPN and Fox has to negotiate with Blizzard, or they have to negotiate with Riot, and they have to negotiate with each one of these publishers, or they have to negotiate with the event organizer. So it's a little more complicated, and understanding this ecosystem, it's very, very important. Sponsorship, talked a little bit about this. There's lots of sponsorship deals. This is one of the most interesting aspects. You see brands that are savvy and they're getting into this market. You're seeing this in places that it makes sense. Maybe it's a computer manufacturer or something that's gaming adjacent. And sometimes you're seeing it in, State Farm, right? You're seeing it in, all these different other organizations that are trying to get a piece of this market. Again, it's moving to the, you don't just see certain types of commercials during the Super Bowl. You see a wider range of commercials. Same sort of thing. You're seeing a wide range of sponsorship deals and brand relationships that are occurring in the market. And it's really interesting to watch this aspect grow. Betting, right? So we'll talk about betting for a second. This was a market that I didn't really know much about, honestly. I didn't even think about this aspect because I'm not a gambling man myself. But it's a multi-billion-dollar industry. And this didn't have the esports betting aspect of the industry didn't have any kind of structure or form. And it didn't have a lot of the controls that traditional sports betting had in play. And so over the past few years, this aspect of the industry is kind of just emerging sort of naturally, and it's growing to be again, it's going to hit double digits. If it hasn't hit it yet this year, it's going to. And there's an entire aspect of the ecosystem on just gambling on events, gambling on players, fantasy esports, right? I don't think if you told me 20 years ago that fantasy esports was ever going to be a thing, I would have believed you. But we're coming to a place that's a thing, right? You're going to pick your Overwatch players, you're going to build a team, and you're going to play fantasy just like you would in football. And like that itself is a huge aspect of the industry. So esports betting, tons of runway there. So let's look towards the future for gaming and esports. Viewership is growing, revenue injections coming into the industry, players are growing, content platforms are starting to normalize, and you're starting to see the heavy hitters really invest in their platforms and make the user experience amazing. So we have a really bright future in this industry. Not to be a downer, but we do need to talk about what COVID has done to the industry, right? A lot of industries, COVID hit and they either unfortunately closed, like the retail industry. We're starting to watch that just absolutely, they call it the retail apocalypse at this point. So you see industries that COVID came in and absolutely put a huge damper on their progress. The silver lining is COVID actually helped this industry grow. So one, ecosystem that kind of took was beneficial for them, was the gaming and esports ecosystem. Video streaming services had a massive uptick. Video game sales uptick. You saw interest rise in, just leaps and bounds. You saw traditional sports teams that had nothing to play that started to get into this arena. You're seeing, folks realize that you can play games online basically from everywhere, anywhere if you have an internet connection. And this is one aspect of something that you can do at your home, but stay connected. So COVID, it's a blessing that it really helped. It's helping the market grow. So silver lining out of the tragedy of this pandemic. So we talked about gaming. We talked about the ecosystem. We talked about esports and how it's a vertical market. So, there's a lot, right? I just gave you a lot to unpack. Well, this is where, the industry is realizing there's a need for education. Every aspect that I talked about, I could spend days and weeks talking about that one aspect. We could spend, weeks just covering what the betting ecosystem looks like and the gambling ecosystem looks like. We can spend days and weeks just talking about project management for events. And as I mentioned with the investments, well, there's a real challenge of, folks not understanding the market, not being savvy enough, not having the knowledge, skills, and attributes to be able to support the market. So you're seeing universities across the U.S. create educational programs. Post has created one as well. We're actually a leader in the fact that we're one of the first to look at the entirety of the gaming ecosystem, not just look at the esports vertical. So in January, we'll be rolling out a bachelor's in gaming and esports management and a master's in gaming and esports management. And they will both be focused on the entirety of the ecosystem, understanding all the different things we talked about and more at length. And, individuals will be able to walk away with this degree with ready to go into the market and help lead. So we're really excited about the educational piece. All this opportunity creating a strong need for education. Well, you can't have that without collegiate esports, right? So the other aspect of, and this is actually something that's grown in the colleges and universities across the U.S. before academics, right, is there's collegiate esports, right? So just like you have pro level play, you have college level play. And I'm not going to steal John's thunder. He's going to talk about this a little more, but there's varsity esports programs across the U.S. There's club level programs. And it's just important to talk about that another complexity of this industry is they're not governed by the NCAA. So a lot of the rules that traditional athletic directors understand about NCAA that have been in place for the last 20, 30 years, they don't apply to esports. So just even that simple aspect of understanding the market and understanding competitive level play requires a certain level of education and knowledge. And luckily, we have John Martin, who understands the industry pretty well. And so we are really excited. You can't have an academic program without a gaming culture. And we're very excited that we have John Martin to lead the gaming culture from a varsity and club level play. And he's going to talk a little bit about what that looks like for us. And you'll see that we work hand in hand. All of the academics and all this knowledge that we need about the industry to be able to support the industry, and then having a really strong culture that feeds into that for varsity level play. So I will let John talk about esports at Post and varsity play. John, let me stop sharing and I'll hand this over to you.
Perfect. Thank you, Roger. All right, so this is the Varsity Esports program at Post University. Really excited to be a part of it. So right now we have 18 individual students that are part of one or more varsity teams, and some are multiple sport athletes, meaning they play multiple games. We have the same dedication expected as if they were on a traditional sports team. So we have 2 practices a week plus 1 match per week. People are expected to spend about 20 hours a week per game practicing, in addition to practicing on their own time. They also have access to our athletic counselor, same as traditional athletes. And we also have an esports lab in development right now in Drubner, which is super exciting. So there's going to be a dedicated space for the varsity play, just like every traditional sports team has their field, right? So this is going to be our field. We are a member of NACE, which is the National Association of Collegiate Esports, and they are the governing body for esports in America, so similar to the NCAA for traditional sports. So they deal with things like student eligibility, organizing national championships with multiple conferences. They also sponsor their own tournaments and events on an individual basis. And one very interesting thing that is very different from traditional NCAA athletics in traditional sports is student esport athletes are able to earn money. So if they go to an event or a tournament as a post-university esport athlete and they win prize money, then that money can either be deposited directly into their account or it can be put directly towards their tuition and fees to attend post. So NACE is much more hands-off about that than the NCAA is for traditional sports. We are also a member of the ECAC, which is the Eastern College Athletic Conference for esports. This is a massive conference. We have 91 member schools, and that's just for the esports teams, all the way up to Maine, all the way down to South Carolina, and west to Missouri. So it's a very, very large conference. There's tons of competition, tons of schools out there. And the ECAC is currently offering competition in Rocket League, Madden, Smash, Fortnite, FIFA, Hearthstone, Overwatch, League of Legends, and Valorant. And we are currently competing in Rocket League, Smash, Overwatch, League of Legends, and Valorant. I should correct that slightly. We are currently competing in Rocket League and Smash right now this fall. We are building teams for Overwatch, League of Legends, and Valorant to start competing in the spring. So the first game I'm going to talk about is Rocket League, so I'm going to show a little video first.
But that's just not going to work. I really doubt they can try and break down this very stellar Mocket defense using that. And there's going to be a great shot. Oh my goodness! Greasy! As Bluey, he's going to have himself time, and he's got himself boost. Going to try and carry this the entire length of the pitch, and he does!
Is anyone else not getting the sound?
Able to react. Garrett, over the top of one. Pass two.
Are you guys not getting the sound?
No, I don't hear anything.
Okay, hold on.
Firstly, let me say to you that we are delighted that you love R.M. Williams boots.
Pass two. He's got Justin.
Sorry. How's that? You guys hear it now?
But that's just not going to work. I really doubt they can try and break down this.
No.
Still no sound? Yeah, sorry, I have no idea how to fix that.
That's okay. If you want to just talk about the games briefly, John.
Sure. I'm just gonna. It's just a 3-minute video. I'm just gonna play it real quick. Hopefully, the audio will come for the actual recording here.
Okay.
But that's just not going to work. I really doubt they can try and break down this very stellar Mocket defense using that. And there's going to be a great shot. Oh my goodness! Greasy! As Bluey, he's going to have himself time, and he's got himself boost. Going to try and carry this the entire length of the pitch, and he does! And easily able to react. Garrett, over the top of one. Pass two. He's got Justin in support. Takes it by himself. Hooks his attempted shot. Back into the middle, Sad Jr., nice flick, looks for Jacob. Jacob!
No way!
Oh my God!
So they're going into the lower bracket. Could that be it? Timmy, we'll stop it up. 2, 1, a shot. Oh my God! Pass will be up quick. He does on the backboard. A second touch from Coach. Oh my God!
That is shooting the Chiefs. Now Drippe is an option. They're going to try and find him. They managed to get to him. 1, 2. There is going to be an open net. There comes Drippe.
Farmer wraps it around. Garrett G moves up. Screen plays it.
Oh, yes! The demolition!
It's a 3-goal game. Put this next one in. This is so close for them. They have a control. Oh, Turbo! The whole team doesn't matter. Does it himself. He's got
Steals the mid-range as well. That's going to slow down some tickets, but now on the defensive. Still 0 goes. Oh my goodness!
Oh my Garrett!
Often, she'll need to send it away. He makes the touch.
Oh, what? No. No way. What? Are you kidding me? Look at this pitch from Cookser. Final minute. This was the scoreline in game 3. Wild 9. Unable to take it, but Squishy now with a daily shot. He puts it through. He's been going for this stuff all season.
Nobody from NRG was taking the bait. Devo up high. That is going to drop down fire, but it will not be there. Devo with an incredible double tap.
Are you kidding me, Devo? Out from this iMyPower team. Defense and iMyPower, not things we usually talk about at the same time. He's carrying it. Grenoble, they could win it! Not really sure who's going to go for the clears. Devo looks for the pressure. Up and Denny double tap this hit.
I'm going to zoom this Mocking squad down to the ground, although a lot puts that one straight up. That is the angle of the century!
I thought he was going to drop it down for a teammate, but instead he goes for the angle.
It's going to be over to KO! It's almost there!
Score! 4 seconds left!
NRG need this immediately. They've got to keep up in their favor. KO tries to clear. It is almost there. It just hits the floor. Final Panther puts it the long way. And it's almost there. Justin keeps it alive. Teleports it there. Bounces into the corner. NRG still around. Justin is there for the shot. Justin! This is Rocket League!
So, sorry you guys didn't have sound for that video on the presentation, but I encourage you to watch the recording. It's a way better with sound. So, Rocket League is soccer with cars, developed by Psyonix, and it's playable on Xbox, PS4, and PC, and it is cross-platform enabled, which means that people who are playing on the Xbox can play with other people who are playing on PS4 and PC, which is pretty cool. Not a lot of other games are like that. Most matches are 3v3 in a best of 5 games, and one game there's 5 minutes on the clock. And once the timer expires, the game is over when the ball either touches the ground or goes into one of the nets. And if it's tied at the end of regulation, it goes into sudden death overtime, and the first team that scores wins. Players can use boost to go faster and help their car fly, but they need to drive over the boost pads on the ground to refill their boost meter. And now we have Smash Brothers Ultimate. I'm just going to do the same thing for this video. Apologize, there's no sound for you guys.
Does your face feel dry and sensitive? Rebalance your skin's microbiome, the living ecosystem of microorganisms.
More fighters, more battles, more fun. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, only on Nintendo Switch.
So that was obviously not a gameplay video, but you kind of get a sense of the general style. It's a 1v1 or 2v2 fighting game developed by Nintendo and playable on the Nintendo Switch. You can play with more players than that, but generally the competitive side is either 1v1 or 2v2. And players can select one of over 75 characters that appear in other video games, and the object of the game is to knock the opponent off the screen. And as a player takes hits and takes more damage, they become easier and easier to launch. So now we're going to move right on to Overwatch. So bear with me
Oddities. Oddities. Scientists. Soldiers. Heroes. Disbanded after a generation of peace, the members of Overwatch are needed once more as the world falls into conflict. Take up your place as a legendary hero in Blizzard's new objective-based team shooter. Find out if you have what it takes to be a real hero on PC, Xbox One, or PlayStation 4. What is Overwatch? Sponsored by Blizzard. Select from 21 unique heroes ranging over 4 distinctive roles: offense, defense, tank, and support, to best aid your team and achieve level objectives. Rather than relying on loadouts, each class is filled with unique characters, each with their own distinct abilities and strengths, resulting in a hero for every playstyle. Offensive heroes use speed and firepower to scout fortifications, isolate enemy heroes, and tear apart defenses. Often flashy and capable of ending fights in seconds, these heroes gain their incredible assortment of mobility and damaging abilities at a cost. They have no natural defensive stats such as armor or shields, minimal self-sustain to stay alive in extended battles, and in most cases lack support abilities to heal or empower teammates. From shredding your targets with Tracer to raining down rockets from the skies as Pharah, offense means being first to a fight and keeping the pressure on until victory. Generally less mobile than their offensive counterparts, defense specializes in guarding locations and splitting up enemy teams or making them pay. In exchange for the sacrificed mobility, some defense heroes are able to lay devastating traps, build powerful turrets, reveal enemies to teammates, and even alter the terrain of the battlefield itself. Defense means keeping hold of the objectives your team has earned at any cost. The tank is a high health, high durability role, best suited for disrupting enemies and soaking up damage whilst leading the charge, covering for your allies through shields, damage barriers, or sheer effective projectile absorption. Because of their high health, it often takes multiple heroes to efficiently dispatch a tank, making them ideal for the front lines as well as less susceptible to abilities that would instantly kill other heroes. While under the right circumstances, tanks can put out large bursts of damage, this power is generally kept in check by hero-specific trade-offs like cooldowns and limited effective range or ammunition. So tanks that choose to unleash their power must do so wisely. The tank is the anchor of the team and can turn the tide of any battle. The healers and the augmenters. Support are generally weak in solo combat, but provide incredible utility to their teams through healing, damage boosting, shielding, and a host of powerful abilities that can teleport players, dramatically increase team movement speed, and even resurrect fallen teammates. Support provides much needed sustain for offense and tank characters, and a good support can keep your hopes and team alive. Remember, different heroes complement your team in various ways, and everyone brings something unique to the table. The ebb and flow of battle will see countless heroes take the field. Adapt to new objectives and challenges by swapping out heroes at any time from the spawn room, surprising your opponents with a fresh roster, posing new threats. There are 12 maps with diverse and specialized objectives designed to complement Overwatch's unique, hero-based take on team gameplay. Control maps pit two teams over a series of objective areas in a best-of-3 format. When a team is in control of an objective, they build progress towards capturing it. The first team to 100% wins the round. In Escort, the attacking team moves the payload to a point on the other side of the map. The defending team do their best to delay and ultimately prevent the payload from advancing to the final point. Assault has each team battle over multiple objectives on the map. The attacking team must capture the objectives, whilst the defenders try to maintain control before the time runs out. Hybrid maps combine assault and escort objectives in a multi-stage system, with a payload unlocking after the attacking team succeeds in capturing a point. This can result in some unique hero switches to adapt to the changing objectives of the match. Overwatch provides multiple ways for players to jump into the action. Whether you're an FPS rookie or a hardened veteran of the genre, there is something for you. If you're new to Overwatch, you can ease into the game and learn the heroes, map types, and mechanics with the in-depth training modes, including tutorial, practice range, and practice versus AI. Both quick play and competitive game modes throw you into the action with a similarly skilled opponent. Your performance gains you XP and an assortment of in-game vanity items which can be used to customize your heroes to fit your style. The weekly brawl and custom game modes keep players on their toes with fun, new rules and objectives. Will you heed the call of Overwatch? Come join the fight and become the hero you were meant to be.
All right, so that was Overwatch. It's a 6 versus 6 team-based tactical first-person shooter developed by Blizzard, and it's playable on the Xbox, PS4, PC, and the Switch. However, it is not cross-platform, meaning that the Xbox has its own competitive ladder that will be separate from the PS4 and separate from the PC and separate from the Switch. So if you start playing Overwatch on the Xbox and you get to a certain rank or you play a certain number of games and then you switch to PC, you'll have to restart your progress over again. And this is because it's generally considered easier to aim on certain heroes with a mouse as opposed to joysticks on a controller. So what Blizzard said is they didn't want people competing with a mouse and keyboard with the efficiency and kind of advantage that has against someone else who's using a controller, because that's not really fair. So they wanted to keep all the players playing with controllers in the same league, so to speak. So competitive is a best of 3 maps, and there are different objectives based on the map, as you saw in the video. And so that's pretty much Overwatch. Now we're moving on to League of Legends, which is the next game.
League of Legends is a team-oriented strategy game. The goal is to work together with your teammates to bring down the enemy nexus, located in the middle of their base before your opponents take down yours. That sounds straightforward, but how you get there isn't, so let's walk you through the basics. You'll start by choosing one champion from a list of many, all of whom have their own unique strengths and personalities. Some are ranged marksmen, pelting their opponents from a safe distance, or burly fighters who like to get up in their opponents' faces. Others are arcane mages, casting powerful spells to trap and damage their enemies. However you like to get things done, there's a champion out there to match your style. During the game, champions get stronger in 2 ways, the first of which is leveling up. You gain experience by being in the area when enemies die, and each level of experience gives you an ability point. Assign these points as you level up to unlock all of your abilities and make them stronger. At level 6, you can unlock your ultimate ability, which can change the tide of the game. The second way to get stronger is buying items. Items are bought at the shop in your base using gold earned from killing enemies during a match. Once you've bought an item, it goes straight into your inventory and you immediately gain its benefits and power up. If you don't know which items to buy, you can check the recommended tab in the store for some pretty good stuff for your champion. Once you know your way around the shop, feel free to experiment with different item combos as you develop your own style. But if you ever get lost, the recommended tab has your back. When you start the game, you and your team will appear in the fountain. This is also where you'll respawn if your champion dies. This is a pretty safe place that restores your health and mana and provides access to the shop we just talked about. You start off the game with some gold, so grab some items right away and return to the shop when you've earned enough to buy more or to upgrade items you already own. Once you've got your starting items, you'll head to one of the 3 lanes, commonly called bot for bottom, mid for middle, and top for top. Between the lanes is the jungle, a shadowy area filled with powerful monsters that can beat the heck out of an unprepared champion. Slaying these creatures will give you gold, experience, and some pretty sweet buffs, but they do fight back, so stay in the lanes until you feel strong enough to take them on. Each lane is a path between the 2 bases, guarded by a set of powerful turrets. You'll need to destroy your enemy's turrets to get into their base and take down their nexus. That's easier said than done though. Those turrets are perilous, and even the most powerful champion will melt if targeted by one. To safely take them down, you need to stay behind your minions. Minions are computer-controlled units that march relentlessly down all lanes, engaging any enemies in their path. Your opponents have minions too, and you're gonna want to stomp them. You'll get experience when they die, but only the killing blow, commonly called the last hit, will earn you gold, so time your attacks carefully. Once you and your minions push up to an enemy turret, you'll have a few moments to damage it while it attacks your minions. If you're in range of the turret without any minions around, it will attack you, so beware of your position. Also, if you attack an enemy champion while in range of the turret, it will change its focus to attack you, even if your minions are around. Working with your minions to siege enemy turrets is your main objective if you're looking to crack their base. But watch out for enemy champions. Like you, they have items and abilities and feelings to help them stop your advance and make their way to your nexus. If you manage to take an enemy champion down, however, they are worth a nice chunk of gold. Sometimes things don't go as planned. Maybe an enemy champion gets the drop on you, or maybe you take one too many turret shots. Whatever the case may be, if your champion dies, you'll have to wait for your death timer to expire before respawning back in your base's fountain. This timer increases as the game goes on. Dying early in a match only requires a few seconds of timeout, while a death later on could result in a 30-second penalty or even longer. Don't worry though, you don't lose any items, gold, or experience on death, and you can even buy items while waiting to respawn. Of course, killing your enemies also takes them off the map for a brief period, giving you the perfect opportunity to advance and demolish their turrets. That's the basics of League of Legends. Get money, buy stuff, and wreck their base, all while battling against a team of opponents trying to do the exact same things to you. A combination of skill, speed, and intelligence will lead you to the opponent's nexus and to victory. Then, you can start a new game and do it all over again. There's a lot more to the world of League of Legends though. A diverse community full of all kinds of people, a competitive rank system to test your skills, either solo or with a team of friends, an ever-expanding roster of champions to explore and master, and even a professional esports scene where the best players in the world gather to play on a massive stage in front of thousands of fans. It all starts with your first game. So hit that big play button and start a game. At first, you'll have co-op versus AI available. Select intro bots for your first few games to help you learn the ropes. Try a few different champions. Each is different, but there's nothing like finding a champion you really click with. After you feel comfortable, you can try other co-op difficulties or start playing against other human beings. See you in the fields of justice, and welcome to League of Legends.
Alright, so that was League of Legends. It's a 5 vs 5 multiplayer online battle arena, or MOBA, and it was developed by Riot Games, released back in 2009. And the object is just to destroy your opponent's base, also called a nexus, and players can select one of over 100 champions. And they each have different abilities, strengths, and weaknesses, and work well with each other. So moving right along to the, I think this is the last game here on my list, is Valorant, which is a first-person shooter developed by Riot as well. And here's a little video about it.
Here it is, the new iPhone 12 Pro with 5G meets Verizon 5.
I got 2 walking. I got 3.
Oh, metal.
Nice, man.
Let's go!
Someone in the corner?
There's one here by the door. Got him, one. Oh. Got 2. Got 3. Holy!
Oh, he's so close.
Watch inside.
Oh, yeah.
One enemy remaining.
Holy.
Give me my money, bitch!
So that was Valorant. It's a 5 versus 5 tactical first-person shooter developed by Riot Games, and players select one of 13 right now agents, each with different abilities. And the objective is to defeat all the opposing players on the other team, or plant or defuse the bomb, depending on whether you're on attack or defense. And the first team that wins is the first team that wins 13 rounds. So that was all the games that we're currently building teams for. We have our ECAC Smash Brothers Ultimate matches on Mondays at 8 p.m. And we have our Rocket League matches on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. And all matches are streamed live on twitch.tv/postuesports. And if you miss the match, no worry. Or if you miss this presentation, no worries. We're going to upload everything to YouTube. Just search YouTube for Postu Esports to find our account. And go ahead and subscribe so you can know when we put new videos up. And that was, in a nutshell, everything about esports at Post University. So I hope you guys learned some things. We're really excited about this program. And if you have any questions about the degree program, shoot Roger an email, Caramanica at Post. Or if you have any questions about the varsity play, you can certainly send me an email, jmartin@post.edu. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you later.